The anime Jujutsu Kaisen made huge waves across the globe when it premiered last October. With a cast of interesting characters, a solid narrative, and cool animation, it was a sure hit. While it checks out all of these aspects positively, it adds a little extra with a series of amazing unique superpowers called cursed techniques. And like any good shōnen anime, the more the plot unfolds, the more we discover what both the protagonists and antagonists of the story are capable of. So for CBR's first Jujutsu Kaisen video, let's chat about the characters' cursed techniques and rank them from worst to best. Let's get started. Momo Nishiyama, who was introduced late in the first season, looks like she's straight out of a witchy Ghibli Studios movie. Her jujutsu, called tool manipulation, allows her to telepathically control objects like her flying broom. The only main advantage her technique offers is the fact that she can fly high without being easily detected by people down below. She can also control her broom without having to touch it, which comes in handy when she needs to use a long-range attack. One of her most powerful attacks that has been featured in the anime so far is the Wind Scythe, which consists of her swinging her broom, creating a gust of cursed energy that is projected right onto her opponent. While Nobara blocked the attack without much of a sweat, it's supposedly really powerful, which puts her at the very bottom of today's list. To be honest, I'm a bit disappointed about this one. I was expecting the Kyoto Metropolitan Cursed Technical College to be way more powerful than what the series served us. While Yoshiobu Gakuganji's Jujutsu was not the OP technique I was hoping for, it made for a strong impression for sure. Getting an electric guitar seemingly out of nowhere, the old man started playing and producing cursed energy from the notes that he was playing. His body amplifies the sound he's making by strumming the strings, allowing him to launch powerful cursed energy waves towards his opponent. While this might be a cool power to have and to see on screen, it seems quite limited against some of the most powerful characters that made it higher on today's list. The electric guitar also feels slightly out of place and is one of the things that break the mood of the show, while not being that impressive at the same time. Kokichi Muto was born with a jujutsu called Heavenly Restriction, which grants him the power to use cursed energy across a lot of land. But it comes at a price, since his body is so fragile that he has to live shielded from the sun and is missing some limbs. However, he makes himself useful through a technique that he calls puppet manipulation. In the anime series, he is introduced as Ultimate Mechamaru, a cursed corpse in robot form which gives him the ability to walk amongst others and attend school. While his power is technically pretty cool, and Mechamaru has a list of lethal gadgets and weapons, those don't really count as cursed techniques. Until he uses his powers in a more OP way like the immense cursed energy, he'll stay a bit lower on the ranking than some of his counterpart sorcerers. Mai Zennin must be one of the most hated characters so far in the anime. Well, at least I know I can't stand her, but I swear I didn't put her low on today's list for that reason. The problem with the construction technique is that it takes quite a toll on her body, allowing her to make only one enhanced bullet per day. However, the fact that she can produce something out of thin air is pretty impressive in itself. We're not in the presence of something like Full Metal Alchemist's law of equivalent exchange, that's for sure. It would be interesting to see her have access to more cursed energy, because as it stands now, it's not very impressive. And besides, guns are plainly boring. Remember all the hate Sword Art Online 2 received when it went full Call of Duty? Martial arts or weapons-based shows are always a no-no when it comes to firearms. Noritoshi of the Kamo family has inherited one gruesome cursed technique: blood manipulation. This grants him the power to control aspects of his blood, which he uses in a variety of attacks. By using his flowing red scale technique, he can increase his energy and physical strength by augmenting his pulse rate, temperature, and the number of red blood cells present in his blood. He can also trap his opponent in a blood prison using crimson binding, create wheels of blood and use them like throwing stars, and go right through an enemy using his piercing blood technique. Kokichi's jujutsu sounds quite tiring and dizzying, but having been trained in martial arts, archery, and weapon wielding since a young age, the teenager has endurance like no other. Panda must be one of the most adorable things in Jujutsu Kaisen. Just look at him. I mean, he is until someone pisses him off good and he switches to his creepy-looking gorilla mode. Being a sentient, abrupt, mutated, cursed corpse, Panda has 3 cores that live with his body. The first is simply his main form, the cute panda we see pummeling villains. The second is a mix between a possessed gorilla on steroids which can use the unblockable drumming beat. Through the use of this attack, Panda can send a shockwave which goes through his opponent's defense, hurting them even if they guard themselves. There's a third core living inside Panda's body, and something tells me it won't be something cute and fluffy, but something quite terrifying, and most importantly, deadly. The gross rot technique used by the strange-looking brothers Eso and Kechizu involves blood like Noritoshi's curse technique. But this time, we're talking dark, poisonous blood that can be manipulated and slowly destroy the poor soul who got infected from within. By the end of Season 1, Eso had been seen using 2 abilities linked with this jujutsu. By using Maximum Wing King, Eso can create wings made out of blood from his weird back face and use them to attack, but also to increase his maneuverability. The other ability we've seen him perform in the anime so far is called Decay and involves a fast-acting toxin which slowly rots Eso's enemy. While Itadori and Kugisaki survive the ordeal, this could leave low-level sorcerers or humans as pile of bones real quick. Hanami is the cursed spirit equivalent of a leaf-type Pokemon. The nature-loving spirit has a lot of tricks up his sleeve and quite the interesting goal to save the world from humans, which makes it kind of hard not to not side with him, to be honest. With his Disaster Plants Jujutsu, he can create illusions of plants from cursed energy. Using this power, he can create gigantic roots upward to bring his opponents towards the sky, as well as make them disappear in a flash, causing his enemies to fall from great heights. He can also create wooden balls, cursed buds that feed on a sorcerer's cursed energy, and a magnificent flower field, which in some ways calms down his opponents, taking away their desire to fight. The cursed spirit Hanami has a lot of cool techniques, but he is also a master in battle, making him one serious threat for the seasons to come. Hanami's cursed spirit buddy Jogo has quite the opposite elemental power than his tree-loving friend. The Cyclops, who literally has a volcano on top of his head, sources his power in the elemental of fire. His technique, called Disaster Flames, allows him to create mini volcanoes which, as you have probably guessed, erupt with lava and threaten to burn every single thing that stands in the way. To make it even OP, he can manipulate fire and lava at will. Another interesting power he holds is the summoning of ember insects, which look like nasty oversized mosquitoes that literally explode upon impact. While his enemies or innocent bystanders have seen firsthand the power that Jogo holds, the domain expansion he is able to bring forth is something to be feared. Unless you're Satoru Gojo, that is. Kento Namai's curse technique involves style and extreme precision. While in the heat of battle, the experienced Jujutsu sorcerer can use his amazing ratio technique. This basically involves him sizing up his opponent in a literal way. When he is about to strike, he can visualize 10 lines, which helps him spot his opponent's weak spots. He can then either go right for the kill or slowly bring down the other fighter's defense by focusing on his weak spots. Another cool technique, which relates to the ratio technique, allows him to create a weak spot in the environment he is at. He used that one when he was fighting the clearly insane Mahito and destroyed an underground tunnel to trap him. Combined together, the ratio technique and collapse acts as a super precise and deadly ability. Fushiguro Megumi inherited one cool curse technique where he can summon powerful Shikigami in order to assist him in battle. To some extent, it resembles the Summon or Guardian Forces feature found in most Final Fantasy video games, but the sorcerer is able to control 10 at once if he wanted to. The creatures are summoned through shadows, which can also act as portals for Fushiguro to hide into. So far in the anime, he summoned at least 7 different variations of his Shikigami: Divine Dogs, Divine Dog Totality, New, Great Serpent, Total, Max Elephant, and a combination between New and Toad, poetically called the Well's Unknown Abyss. My favorite of all of them is by far Divine Dog Totality, who is an OP version of the original Divine Dog, which inherited the white Divine Dog's powers who died previously. This improved version is so strong that he can withstand attacks from special grade cursed spirits. Kugisaki Nobara is a first-year student at the Tokyo Metropolitan Curse Technical College. She might be wielding the strangest choice of weapon, a hammer with a little pink heart on its head combined with a few nails, but boy does she know how to use it. Not only can she bring maximum damage with the cursed nails that she sends flying by hitting on them with her hammer, but she always has a few voodoo dolls on her, just in case of emergencies. Using her straw doll technique, she can hurt an enemy from a great distance, and when that nail hits the doll, her opponent experiences what she calls resonance. The link that is created between the two gives Nobara the power to make the person linked to the doll feel every single thing she wants them to feel. The psychotic Mahito must have one of the scariest curse techniques in the entire anime series so far. Looking like a freak accident between Frankenstein's monster and a Barbie doll, Mahito is capable of reshaping souls while using idle transfiguration. While in the anime, he's still in a very experimental stage trying out his powers on anyone he can get his hands on and creating disfigured human beings, he's actually very hard to beat. By reshaping someone's soul, he can disfigure his victim's body and use them as weapons against his opponents. He can also heal his wounds by using others, transform his arms or legs into weapons, and basically whatever he fancies that day. Lastly, he can also clone himself, which means double trouble for the whole team of Jujutsu sorcerers. The muscular Todo is a grade 1 sorcerer who, after some time, became very close to Itadori. An excellent martial artist while also being a bit cringy at times personality-wise, the powerful sorcerer has a very interesting curse technique. His technique, called Boogie Woogie, was first revealed when he fought Hanami 2-on-1 accompanied by his new BFF Itadori. When he claps his hands, he can switch his position with anyone or anything. This proved very useful to destabilize Hanami since Todo and Itadori have quite different builds and heights, making every punch or kick thrown at the duo hit air as they switched in a flash. Interestingly enough, if he explains how his curse technique works to his opponent, it only becomes more effective, and misleads the one he attacks about the actual way Boogie Woogie functions. Black Flash is a curse technique shared by multiple Jujutsu sorcerers. It's been used in the anime many times by Yuji Itadori, and most impressively against the cursed spirit Hanami when he succeeded in landing a 4-hit combo right on the plant guy's face. When it comes to Kugisaki Nobara, she triggered this special technique alongside Itadori when fighting Eso and Kichizu, giving them a run for their money. Black Flashes are basically ultra-strong hits with cursed energy where the user enters a state of heightened cursed energy awareness. While this takes a lot of concentration at first, during the time it's unlocked, understanding, feeling, and using cursed energy becomes second nature to the Jujutsu sorcerer. When your opponent's fist starts flashing black and red, you know it's game over. Another ability that is shared amongst Jujutsu sorcerers and cursed spirits alike is a barrier technique called Domain Expansion. This is a last resort curse technique which traps one's opponent inside a barrier wall, which sort of brings everyone in the immediate area inside a world in the image of the user's jujutsu. The person who activates his innate domain gets a great advantage as their power fills the whole domain. We've seen a few of these during the first season, such as Jogo's Coffin of the Iron Mountain, a place filled with lava and flames, Sukuna's Malevolent Shrine which slashes people to bits, and Satoru Goju's visually epic Unlimited Void. While the Domain Expansion Summoner has more chance at winning if they effectively trap their opponent, the survival of one who's trapped strongly relies on his level of cursed energy, fighting talents, and wit. Tuna, salmon, seaweed, tuna mayo. Those are the most common words that come out of Toji Inumaki's mouth. While this makes her a fun and aloof character, the boy has a very serious reason to talk this way. The power of his jujutsu lies in his speech, so for him, spoken words can have grave consequences. Unless it's a word linked to food, apparently. His curse technique is simply named Cursed Speech, which allows him to infuse anything he says with cursed energy. This allows him to command people to do certain actions like stop, to fall asleep, to run away, or even to explode when he uses his Blast Away command, which results in an enormous explosion. While this is a very powerful curse technique to have, it comes at a price. The stronger the words are, the more he hurts himself in the process. When he used Blast Away on a special grade curse, he fell to his knees, bleeding profusely from the mouth. With great power comes great pain. When Itadori first ate that cursed finger to help his high school friends from cursed spirits roaming around school, little did he know that he would be infusing himself with the consciousness of one of the most powerful cursed spirits in the world. Now and then, Sukuna takes over, granting Itadori with some cool tattoos and an extra pair of eyes. On top of looking darn scary, when Sukuna is in control, he uses mainly close-range techniques, such as Dismantle and Cleave. Like the name suggests, Dismantle is mostly used to slash opponents, while when using Cleave, he can use his cursed energy to buff himself and increase his strength to match or overcome his opponent. Since Itadori hasn't swallowed all of the cursed spirit's fingers yet, we're in for quite a ride when he finally does. Sukuna is already extremely powerful living inside his teenage vessel, but the more his body parts are returned, the more his powers will increase. Today's runner-up entry goes to the special grade Jujutsu sorcerer and teacher Satoru Gojo's reversed curse technique. This OP ability basically turns cursed energy into positive energy. It's important to mention that the technique has variations, which can be used in all sorts of ways. When it comes to Shoko Ieri, Tokyo Jujutsu High's doctor, she uses the skill for healing purposes. Gojo, on the other hand, channels cursed energy, reversing it into a positive energy and combining the power with his Limitless technique, which makes his enemies go kaboom. You've probably figured out by now that I'm a diehard fan of Gojo, so it's not really a surprise that his Limitless curse technique wins today's CBR crown. The technique grants Gojo the power to have absolute control over space, making it possible for him to manipulate every single atom hanging around him. So far in the anime, we've seen two techniques derived from Limitless. Infinity makes him pretty much untouchable, as people who try to attack him end up hitting the infinity between himself and the opponent. The other one, called Hollow Purple, is more on the offense side. Using this technique, Gojo combines two of his powers, blue attraction and red repulsion, which create a powerful purple beam that distorts the fabric of space, destroying anything in its path. I wonder if these curse techniques would stand a chance against Demon Slayer's breathing styles. With both anime series getting their own video games, I think it's time for a battle royale. Pick your best fighter and let the battle begin. But before you leave, scroll back to March. We've got a pretty cool video about those breathing styles.